right, everybody. How we doing out there? Doc Severson with you, Mav with you here at ReadySetCrypto, ReadySetLive on a Wednesday, the 17th of February. How we doing out there, Mav?
Pretty good. Yeah, trying to stay warm, but doing the best we can.
All right, fantastic. Well, we got a number of things to talk to you guys about today. A couple of you got PowerPoint, or are you going to walk people through something?
Oh, I got better than PowerPoint. I got spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets. All right, fantastic. All right. So what we'll do is we got a couple of static presentations for you guys to go over. Mav's got some interesting things to talk about. I do as well. And then we will take your questions. All right, Mav, go take it.
Well, I think we got a tradition we can't skip over, which is to ask everybody where they're coming in from. We're coming in from sunny South Carolina, a little bit cold, as I mentioned. But yeah, tell us where you're coming in from, and maybe tell us the temperature on the mercury there, and hopefully it's not at the bottom there, but so stay warm.
There's
February.
an added challenge. You have to report the temperature in Kelvin.
Yeah. Please make sure to only use imperial units because Skyrim doesn't belong to the Nords. No, kidding. That was a very nerdy joke. All right. So yeah, what we got? Shenandoah Valley, Australia, SoCal. All right. I don't think Reef is a place, but it's we'll get to that one. Miami.
Oh,
Dallas.
We got Manch here. Lovely.
Nice. Yeah.
One of our favorite cities to visit.
Manchester United.
City.
Awesome.
All right, Aiken, South Carolina. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Cool.
We're a little further north of you. All right, we got Mexico, 268 Kelvin. Fantastic. We have Russia in the house. Fantastic. All right.
Someone's
Vegas,
asking we
India,
make this
11
quick.
degrees Celsius.
All right. Have a good one, guys. We'll make it quick. We're just hanging out. We're having a good time. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't been around for a while, what we do at ReadySetCrypto here is we're all about high quality transparency. We don't get paid to shill anything. You can't buy our opinions on stuff. So we're also very locked in on doing things broad spectrum, meaning we look at the fundamentals. Doc looks at the technicals as an expert trader. And then we're slowly getting into this third new way of looking at the markets and blockchain and all this. It's called on-chain analysis, and it kind of combines fundamental analysis and technical analysis. It's really cool. So we're going to cover all three of those today during our ReadySetLive session here with you. I'm going to start off by addressing the topic of this video. I think heard you loud and clear about last week that I didn't do enough justice to help you identify some cool projects. So my apologies, mea culpa, but we'll make this straight to the point here, because I think there's some really cool stuff going on right now. I think the crypto markets are doing some really hot stuff. I definitely said a lot of that last week, but yeah, I think if we can pay attention to like what particularly is standing out right now and what is really becoming hot, yeah, I think we can do pretty well. So, man, we got lots of people on here. This is awesome. One sec here while I transition over to the screen share. All righty. See that okay?
If you got echo, you may have two windows open. Some people.
Uh-oh.
All right. Hey, just a shout out for the from Salisbury, UK, the Cozy Club, one of my favorite restaurants.
Am I getting echo? No echo. Okay.
I don't hear any on this end.
Yeah, please don't let me talk on and on without making sure you guys can hear me and asking how old I am. That's a very personal question on a live stream there. But love it. We get all this sorts of stuff. So anyways, can we see this? Can we hear it? All good?
Yeah, we're fine.
Alrighty, cool. So let's dig in. Let's have some fun here. So what obviously we're talking about today is some DeFi, some crypto moonshots. And particularly, I want to follow up with some of the ones that we talked about last week, because if you weren't around for that, definitely go check out that video. And definitely, the list is linked in the bio of that video. You can find it over at our brand new service and platform, ReadySet.vision. The link for this one is also in the bio of this video. So you can follow along with me, trying to make this as easy as possible for people. But for those, our friends that are watching us on their mobile phones here, appreciate it. I'll zoom in here so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So today, let's just go over some really cool projects I'm paying attention to, some things I'm paying attention to in terms of broad trends and how I'm seeing them kind of, trickle down into respective projects that I think are doing really cool things, breaking out, etc. So broadly speaking, I would classify, or at least quantify, the 4 trends that I'm paying attention to right now are aggregators, Polkadot, layer 2, and scalability. So those were some jargon-ish words, and if none of that made sense, or it just seemed like big words, cool, that's all right. Welcome aboard. We're all in this together. This is crypto, and we deal. Yeah, I'm zoomed in. Yeah, I didn't do that last week too. I definitely apologize for that. But yeah, hopefully you can follow along with me. If it's not clear or anything, just let me know, and I'll try to zoom in further. So if you got like a tiny little phone, or if you're watching this on your iPod or something like that. Okay, so cool. Broadly speaking, those 4 trends I'm paying attention to, I think are what's hot right now in terms of we are at like a critical juncture of the space right now. And particularly as it relates to DeFi being this really big, just crazy space that's full of different things right now. It's sort of the mad science lab of crypto, and it's awesome, but it's also can feel kind of chaotic. And when people start throwing things around like, oh yeah, you just go on Sushi Swap, or you go over to Aave, and then you go over to Pancake Swap, and then you do this and that, and yeah, I can clearly see where people kind of lose themselves. And what is this? This is not the crypto I remember of 2017. So it's I think it's important for us to kind of boil it down and look beyond what is. It can quickly get into the jargon and quickly get into this like dev speak, and you can feel like you're in a Discord chat room, even if you're just trying to like research some of these projects. It's a crazy space, but it's also where we're seeing massive returns right now. For example, Prometheus, which I featured last week, I just briefly talked about it. It was in market cap 400s. I think it was like 462 or something like that, and it's had a 350% gainer over the past 7 days. Not trying to, toot my own horn here, because it was 1 out of 22 that I was talking about last week. But it highlights exactly what I'm talking about here in terms of it's a layer 2 project. It's helping with scalability. It's helping to, make this space more accessible, more reachable, build it up in the way that it needs to go right now. So that is very important. That's what we also see with things like Matic, which is rebranding to Polygon. They're in the process of working on interoperability, and they're trying to do which I identified as this second big trend right now. Polkadot is doing massive things right now. Why is Polkadot kind of this, I don't know, special child right now? Why is everyone talking about it? Well, it's because it's doing what Ethereum and Ethereum 2.0 it wants to do. It's really good at interoperability. It's really good at letting people bring their own tools, develop in their own ways, and to be interoperable between all these different blockchains and all these different protocols and different things. It helps to make the space accessible and not lock everyone into, like using Solidity and one framework and one language. It reflects what development and growing and actual like startup environments look like. You can't tell everybody to do or act a certain way, especially in decentralized land here. So that's what Matic is trying to solve, is to be interoperable but with Ethereum to be the Polkadot of Ethereum. So that's why they've done really well recently. And I think they're going to continue to do well. So again, Polkadot, layer 2, scalability, and aggregators. Aggregators, I think, are where we're going to see massive gains, massive movement, because they're the ones that are powering. Here, if I could just quickly do a little. So aggregators, I know that's a really mean looking term there, or it sounds scary, but when it really comes down to it, you have different kinds of aggregators. You have liquidity aggregators like 0x, Kyber, 1inch, which I saw some people wanting to talk about. 1inch is awesome. They're doing really cool things. Matcha is another really cool one. MetaMask. Some other ones would be Reef, which has gone absolutely, it's been shilled to death at this point. What makes Reef kind of, and someone asked about it last week, and so I promised to look into it. Basically, Reef is a liquidity aggregator on Polkadot. So you're combining two of the trends I just talked about in terms of the big ones. It's an aggregator. It's got Polkadot. It's got all the necessary elements to make it just hot. And that's why people have just talked it to death. There are some concerns about the team being kind of, it could be a scam. It's not looking 100%, trustworthy, and they just need to get their image together and really latch down on like the team. People are wondering if it's a scam, basically. So there is definitely some leftover anxiety after 2017 and all the scams and exit scams and things like that that we saw during that time. So I think the space is much more vigilant for things like that. So good for those who aren't just blindly shilling a project and are actually looking in and say, yeah, I might be excited about this, but at the same time, I'm going to do my due diligence. If it doesn't smell right, maybe it's not right. Taking a risk on this one. Maybe it's I should wait and see what happens. But anyways, so that's my take on Reef, because I know it's going to go all over the the chat today. So the other ones we want to take a look at would be like the yield aggregators. In particular, I added Rari governance token here because it's in the 293. It's definitely undervalued for what I think it could be, because it's just like Yearn, which was a massive one. Harvest is another one which is doing crazy things right now. And importantly, what all this kind of builds up to, why these are taking off right now, why aggregators are my number one trend right now in terms of what we need to pay attention to, is because we use liquidity and we use these yield aggregators to basically power the financial dApps and protocols that you've probably heard all over the place regarding DeFi. Synthetics, Compound, SushiSwap, Aave, Uniswap is big one. Maker, all these guys get powered by their these liquidity providers who essentially pull together to help make sure that buys and sells can happen, and then you share a percentage of the fees with the pools, and it's a win-win for everybody. It helps make the DeFi world go round. So that's all you need to know about aggregators as far as I'm concerned. They're super hot right now. They're about to go even more ballistic. Make sure you're paying attention to this, because I think this is where we're going to see the same sort of energy that we saw with the financial dApps and protocols last summer, when yield farming just absolutely took off and you were seeing massive 1,000% plus returns on your staking and yield farming and stuff like that. We're going to see the same kind of stuff kind of trickle down into the yield aggregators and the liquidity aggregators. It's where the attention of the space is right now, or where things are getting hot right now. So make sure you're paying attention to that. All right, tangent over. Back to our little list here, just to make sure we round this out. More layer 2 solutions like Seller Network or Cartesi. I think STP Network is a kind of interesting one because it is very reminiscent of Synthetics or SNX, which allows you to build synthetic assets. And in this case, it's going to be on Polkadot. So again, drawing back to those 4 trends I mentioned: aggregators, Polkadot, layer 2, and scalability. If you're talking about those right now, you're doing a pretty good job if you're paying attention to that kind of stuff. Lastly, this Unistake is, it's providing liquidity. It's doing cool things as it relates to making sure that there's liquidity going around. Yeah, I want to make sure I don't sound like a broken record here, but I think this is where, if you're in DeFi right now, or if you're just in crypto in general, you should be paying attention to, because this is what is gonna be, it's where you're gonna see those, 100, 200, 300% returns. We title this series the One Bitcoin Club, because we want people to have the ability to, turn $1,000 into one BTC. And to do that currently, with Bitcoin recently hitting its 50K mark, you would have to do a 50 times, obviously. But to do that in practice, and to do that in a way that makes sense, you need to do that through paying attention to these trends, by making both risk averse but also risk acknowledging plays. And I think Doc will kind of touch into that a little bit here when he takes over and talks more about technical analysis and how you trade. But I think what's so important for us to pay attention to is just the direction of the industry, where things are going, what's hot right now, why it's hot right now. And importantly, when we look at the big B, that big Bitcoin there, and what it's doing, we can start paying attention to, I'm going to switch over here to, man, Zoom is in the way. All righty. So one thing we like to do is to use on-chain analysis. And just to quickly shift gears here, because this is, I think, really cool for us to talk about. It's so important for us to pay attention to Bitcoin and what it's doing, because it does so much to basically lift the entire space up, right? It's the big flag for the crypto space. It's what everyone pays attention to. It is what people outside of the space know best, and what it's doing eventually trickles down into what everything else in the crypto space is doing. Yeah, that's a roundabout way of saying, if Bitcoin goes up, on average, we'll see the crypto market follow. And if Bitcoin goes down, maybe we'll see the crypto market follow. Maybe we'll see the altcoin market kind of inverse, whatever. But importantly for us is, I think we have to kind of pay attention to where Bitcoin is right now. What is the most likely thing for Bitcoin to be doing in the near term? And that's the cool part about on-chain analysis, is it helps solve that really important, really hard to answer question of, where does Bitcoin go from here? When Bitcoin hit 20K, where was it likely to go from there? When Bitcoin hit 30K, 40K, and now 50K, where is it likely to go? What should you be doing respective to that if you're speculating on altcoins, if you're trying to maximize your, get as much BTC, stack those Satoshis as possible? If you're just trying to play both the stock market and the crypto markets, and kind of play, whatever's hot at the moment, regardless of that, having an understanding of what Bitcoin is likely to do next, just based off of the data, based off of the probabilistic kind of conditions that are out there right now, and what you should be doing respective to that, so important. So that's a roundabout way of saying on-chain analysis is how you answer those questions. Technical analysis helps you to determine when to buy, when to sell. It's based off of kind of the trading activity and just kind of human behavior in that regard, what the market's doing. On-chain analysis looks at what Bitcoin is doing and what people are doing with the Bitcoin. Are they holding on to it? Are they selling it? Is there more volume? Is there less volume, etc.? So it's almost like quantitative analysis, looking at like the profits and earnings and the quarterly reports of stocks, doing the same thing on Bitcoin, looking at what is happening on the blockchain data. How are people using Bitcoin and all this stuff? Anyways, so when we're looking at some really cool charts here to kind of help us understand what we should be doing with Bitcoin right now, this is a nice sort of it's a big rainbow, and it's a representation of when it's not exactly too scientific, but it's a good representation of where we kind of are right now. So we're in the question of, is this a bubble? And as we continue to head higher, potentially hitting something like 100K, which I think after hitting 50K is well within the realm of possibility. That would be certainly, if we eclipse 100K, that would be maximum bubble territory. As we lead up to it, that's where we're going to see FOMO intensify. That's where we're going to see the need for us to seriously consider selling out of and taking profits rather than holding or buying in at the top. This is just, hopefully, if you've been on this ride since 2017, you have an understanding of what the last 3 years kind of looked like. The emotions that were involved, the things you wish you could have done, etc. And now having that sort of in hindsight, or to hopefully have some foresight as to where things are going and what Bitcoin's going to do next. That's where we love to use things like on-chain analysis to basically say, okay, this is what's going to happen from here. I will quickly just take a little breather here to make sure I'm not going too in tangent. But yeah, let's hear some questions while I kind of rearrange some charts here. And hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're still engaged here, and we're having some fun. Yeah, let's see what we got. So, Doc, if you want, you can take over and start talking charts. And I know you got a presentation, Death by PowerPoint, as well.
I do indeed. I do indeed. Okay, let's set that up here. We're going to do it old school. And I don't think I can talk without my magic pen, so I'm going to fire up my magic pen for you guys. All right. I'm going to go straight to, as soon as this paints. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to go straight to this slide here. We have talked about the One Bitcoin Club webinar series. We've been doing this, but something that I saw this morning is somebody posted this in Twitter, was net positions of CME Bitcoin futures by trader category. And if you look at this carefully, then you'll notice that we have hedge funds up there, and this is the hedge funds. This is what they're doing. So in essence, they've gone massively net short on Bitcoin. All right. So a lot of people are already going nuts about this. Social media went nuts. Wall Street Bets went nuts. Like, here we go. Here's the next short squeeze, right? But it's not quite the same as what you might think it is. It's actually a very conservative income play, and that's what I'd like to discuss with you guys today. So I do want to thank one of our members, Z-Wolf, for pointing this out to me yesterday. So this is something that our members, together we're better at all this. To understand this, we need to see how the pricing term structure works of futures contracts. So bear with me a minute, we'll get through this. So this is backwardation. So if you've ever heard of backwardation, what this shows is that the future contract, so this is June that's out there. Here is September, and here is December. And of course, this is March. And so what you'll notice is that these numbers are going down. This is backwardation. So if you ever hear the term backwardation, that's what it means, is that the future series are going down in price. If you've ever heard the term contango, this is the opposite thing, and this is what's going on in Bitcoin right now. As you got to the different series of futures contracts that go further out in time, the price goes up. So notice how the price is going way up further out in time. This is contango, and this is what we're dealing with right now. So remember those two terms, contango and backwardization. You can use those at parties, you'll be a hit. So the futures price will eventually drift down to the spot price. This is my point here, is that if we do something like this, if we sell this, this will eventually drift back down to the spot price. This is that drift that we're talking about. Okay, so the futures price will eventually drift down to the spot price by the expiration date of the contract. You can think of it as almost like time decay, if you will. This means that if you sell to open a backdated futures contract in contango further out in time, that you'll eventually be able to close it for about the spot price. That extrinsic cost to carry represents your profit. So think about that. This is where you've got basically, if the spot price went steady like this over time, this would eventually come in like this. If you sell something, you want to be able to buy it back for less than you sold it. The problem is holding a short futures contract like that carries unlimited risk. It's not something that you want to do. So you can earn that small profit, which in this case is about $8,000 over 6 months, but get destroyed if Bitcoin rallies. Hedge funds have been doing this trade for decades. This is called the cash and carry trade. This is effectively a pairs trade. Pairs trade is where you own two different things. You go short one, you go long the other. It's called a pairs trade. It automatically hedges itself. This is when you hold short and long positions at the same time. So let's net this out. The cash and carry trade, find a futures market in contango. Guess what? Bitcoin is in that right now, and it has acceptable liquidity. This is a little tougher than it sounds. Some of the contracts that, like I've gone out on BitMEX and looked at these future contracts out there, and they're incredibly scary, illiquid. Be careful what you trade with this. It's got to have acceptable liquidity. Sell to open, the backdated contract. Buy to open or hold existing inventory, the spot currency like Bitcoin. So this is just the Bitcoin spot. This is not a futures contract, although we could talk about doing a perpetual contract if you get forward funding. The spot hedges upside moves against the price, and the futures hedges downside moves against the spot. They work in concert with each other. The futures contract cost to carry value eventually reverts to zero, so the futures contract becomes the spot price, meaning you can close the trade minus the cost to carry premium. So let's do the math. 24 September to today is roughly 7 months. So if we sold this contract 7 months from now, it would be worth about this, about the spot. So it's going to decay from 59,000 down to 51,000. When you sell something, you want it to decay. The September contract is trading roughly about an 8,000 premium to spot today. So that 8,000 futures premium would decay to zero by September 24th. 8,000 for 7 months can be extrapolated to 13,700 for 12 months. So we need both sides of this. So we need about 110,000 of capital if we're going to trade this for a full 1 BTC today for 1 BTC size. So that's about 12.5% annualized. Not bad, not great, but not bad for doing absolutely nothing. So this is all assuming that the forward contracts will continue to remain in contango for the remaining 5 months after September. You'd have to roll the futures contracts out to the March 2022 series this September. And a couple of conclusions here, and I'll finish up, and then we'll throw it back open to questions, or Mav, let me know if you got something else. Hedge funds are not all as stupid and arrogant as Melvin Capital was. That is the person that got squeezed by the GameStop. The huge amount of short interest in the BTC USD futures contracts is almost certainly due to activity in the cash and carry pairs trade. Some of it could just be outright hedging of their long positions as well. Not everything is what it seems at face value in the market. So don't get excited when you see a lot of activity on puts or calls or different futures contracts, short or anything. You don't know what's happening on the other side of that. So this is a simple trade meant to be parked and not traded. You stay in this and you do nothing. Both sides of the trade must remain to stay hedged. The futures market must be in contango for this variant of the trade to work. Okay, so I'm going to throw this back out there. I'm going to throw this back out there, and we'll get rid of this, and we are back here. So Mav, did you have anything else, or is it time for Q&A?
Yeah, I was dealing with some Zoom issues there. So now that I think I've got that resolved, just want to follow up a little bit more of what I was talking about with Bitcoin on-chain analysis, because I think it's important, and I think it's important for us to just look at a couple simple charts to understand where Bitcoin is and where it's going. So one thing we could look at is the ZAO, which is Bitcoin against gold. And right now it's at an all-time high. We could see if we went back to on the 5-year chart and look back at 2017, we can see just how much different this has become. Basically, people are seeing Bitcoin as digital gold for real this time. It's not slowing down. People are preferring Bitcoin to gold. That's something very important to pay attention to. Another thing we should be paying attention to is the HODL waves. So again, if we can look back to where we were in 2017 into 2018, this is a representation. The more purple, blue you get, the older the wallets are, the older the Bitcoins are. So those are the hodlers, holders, whereas the reds, the yellows, the oranges, those are the kind of the newer guys. And we can see that as things got really crazy and parabolic back in 2017 into 2018, there's more and more and more new people on board. Some of the older wallets were selling out, etc. Then as we got into the throes of the death throes of the bear market, that's where the new people kind of capitulated and sold out, etc. And same deal, just a smaller extent when we went into March of last year, where we saw a massive sell-off. That's where a bunch of people got liquidated on one day. So we saw again, there was a massive just depreciation of the newer wallets there, followed by just more of the older guys taking profits. It's just paying attention to that and understanding that right now the older wallets are accumulating. They are growing in size. They are expanding their positions because they know that if we were to look at stupid Zoom. This is so frustrating. Sorry, guys. If we were to look at the stock to flow model, which was popularized by Plan B here, as a representation of just generally where is Bitcoin going? What is, how valuable is it as we reduce the supply? Supply and demand, pretty basic economics there. The less of something there is to go around, the more the demand rises, the more the price goes up, basically. Yeah, easy economics 101. But if we look at Bitcoin in this context, and we just kind of model based off of those inputs, we can see that right now, based off of Plan B's prediction, by March, we would be seeing about 125K per Bitcoin with Checkmate, who's one of our teammates. And he just got interviewed by Real Vision Finance, Raoul Paul. So that's really cool. He's predicting more of something in the 70 range. So if we took an average of those two, and again, this is just probability. This is just modeling that has nothing to do with the millions of different externalities that get involved when you actually look at the markets and don't just look at data. If we were to say that Bitcoin averages out to about 100K based off the stock to flow model, well, that's a great hypothesis, thesis, whatever. But in actuality, we're at 50K. And to make up that difference, I think some things need to happen. But honestly, I think the jump between 50K and 100K is going to be a whole lot less of a question or issue than the jump between 10K and 20K, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. But it's all based off of the halving economics, all based off of what's going on outside of the crypto space right now and all the money printing that's going on right now. The more that they print money, the more that they inject stimulus and et cetera, the more that deflationary assets like Bitcoin have value because they're hard money, they're sound money. We're not just gonna find a big cache of Bitcoin somewhere. We're not just gonna start printing Bitcoins. There's only ever gonna be 21 million of them. And so that lends itself to these sorts of models. A couple other on-chain metrics that if you wanted to, you could go to checkonchain.com. We just launched this. It's really cool. It's a free tool for you to look at all these different on-chain analysis metrics. Again, free to use, using Glassnode data for some really awesome analysis on this and insight. And for you to see stuff like, okay, right now we're in extreme minor profits compared to where we were back in like even October. where miners were kind of taking it on the nose with, like they were kind of not making profits for the electricity and the hardware costs it took to mine Bitcoin. Well, now the opposite's true. We're extreme miner profits, and generally when we see the Pule multiple hit about 5, that's where you kind of want to be expecting to sell or at least take some profits, just generally based off of what we've seen in the past. Same thing if we were to look at the Mayer multiple bands, which is something to do with the moving averages and just kind of the way that things are as we have more data to analyze and look back on, same deal. And again, the 2.4 level is kind of a sell point for this metric. Basically, if we were to look at across the board, Bitcoin's health is really good. The network health is really good. That's kind of why we were looking at the that cool rainbow chart here. Like we're kind of in that sort of weird middle area where, like, yeah, we know that it's sort of a bubble, but at the same time, it has a lot of room to grow. It is not, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest, most guilty party in terms of being overhyped and overinflated and all that stuff. That's the stock market. That's where fiat is reigning king right now. The stuff that we've seen over the past couple of weeks, I think, exemplifies that. Bitcoin and the crypto markets are arguably more free and more fair for average trader and investor based off of the valuations and fundamentals, etc. So all that's to say that there's some really cool things we can look at when we stop and look at the data, and we stop and look at the fundamentals of things, and we stop and look at where fundamentally is the market going, where fundamentally is the industry going, where can we find value, where can we find opportunity. To me, right there, to just repeat some of the stuff I said earlier in the session here, aggregators, both liquidity and yield aggregators, I think are going to be super hot. So if you're looking for opportunities, look to those sorts of projects, look to those sorts of DeFi, projects that I think are just going to do very well in the days to come. Look for layer 2 and scalability solutions, and pay attention to Polkadot. Pay attention to how it's challenging Ethereum to basically be better at what it does, beating it at its own game in some ways. So I think those are all super important things to pay attention to right now if you want to be at this tip of the spear of where the blockchain industry is going right now, where you find opportunity, where you find those 100%, 200%, 300% gains. That's where I think opportunity lies right now. And you can find some smaller expressions of that, like things like insurance are really cool. Things like DEXs and AMMs are really cool. But in general, it's really a different space than it was in 2017. It's much more mature. And I think that's going to lend itself to finding those sort of overlapping opportunities. It's not all about, let's find the next Ethereum anymore. It's about where can we find an ecosystem that helps build each other up, so that we're not just reinventing the wheel every time we want to, do smart contracts or do yield farming or something like that. Where can we find the projects that are building each other up? That's where we find value right now in 2021. So cool. All right, guys, that is it for our material. Now we'll get into some Q&A. You guys have been very patient. Some reverb. Sorry about that. I'll try to make sure get that out in future sessions. But yeah, let's take some of your questions. Let's talk about some things that you guys are looking at, some projects that you want to check out, perhaps. Yeah, we'll stick around for another 10 or so minutes, and then we'll get out of your hair and let you go about the rest of your hump day. And hopefully, again, you're staying warm, staying positive with how the markets are going right now. It's a land of opportunity for those who know how to find it. So I think it's a great time to be in these markets and to be a future focused investor, visionary, like you have to be in the space. So
financial markets are so incredibly hot right now. I don't remember when it was like this, maybe 20 years ago.
Okay. So the question about Polkadot, why is it such a strong competitor to Ethereum? Great question. So it really has to do with what is valuable out of an ecosystem right now. in 2021. It's not so much about, can you like get to market as fast as possible and, show up with a cool white paper and get a bunch of people on Telegram to shill your project. There's still a little bit of that. There's still a little bit of, that sort of ethos of, just Wild West crypto opportunity land. It's cool. I don't want that to go away. I think there's a space, a place for that. However, as it relates to what I'm seeing in 2021, where I'm seeing value being created, where I'm seeing that sort of speculative value, as Chris Berninsky would have talked about, translate in, or become utility value, where something as speculative interest, you're speculating on the price of it, and then it starts to actually do what we're talking about, what we want it to do, and lending value to a system or some sort of solution, solving a problem. That's what we want to see out of this space. That's where I'm seeing solution sets, ecosystems like Polkadot really start to shine, really start to lend themselves to their ability to, like I said, interlap or interface with each other, overlap with each other, and do the things that we need it to be doing in 2021, such as scalability, such as interoperability, lending itself to letting people bring their own tools to the table and say, this is how I'm going to do this. And I don't want to have to develop in the same language or use the same blockchain as that other project, but I want to benefit from that project. We could build a win-win relationship. And that's what Polkadot does. And that's why you're seeing, that's essentially what Ethereum 2.0 is also trying to capture, is more and more of this interoperability, more and more of this kind of like the sharding and the plasma. That's what they want to encourage. With Polkadot, it's called Substrate, and there's so much more to it that I really can't get into here. It does deserve like a deep dive. I think it's just worth looking into because there's stuff being built on it. I think that has value, and that's hopefully you can see that. But again, that doesn't mean it's going to be all shiny and nice and clean. There are questionable projects like Reef.finance that maybe on the surface they look cool, but if you dig deeper and maybe look at their team, maybe not the best. So you have to still have those guards in place to make sure that you are protecting your capital and not getting blown up by some guys that decided to exit scam. So stay skeptical, trade dispassionately, weigh it on the merits of what it's providing, and I think you'll do okay. So when will the bull market end? Great question. Right now, if it wasn't clear, we are in the greatest bull market of all time. We're also in the most farcical, most, let's just call it the biggest lie that's ever been told, at least in terms of economics and markets, as far as I'm concerned. We're all pretending like things are great. We're all watching the markets to new all-time highs. But in reality, there's a lot of people out there that are really hurting. There's a lot of people underserved or just left behind by the current system, not just economically, but the legacy financial system, the legacy central banking system is not adequately meeting and addressing the needs of people. And instead, the solution is just to print more money and shove $600 in people's faces and say, all right, good luck.
People have been bearish for the last, since the 2008 bear market. People have continued to be bearish throughout time, or over the last 13 years for that reason, because things don't feel very good. But you have to understand there's a big difference between the economy and any financial market. They are not the same. They never have been the same.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we find ourselves, is at the intersection of what's going on, with the legacy stuff. This space, the crypto, is not meant to replace it. I know that sometimes gets talked about, or there's some sort of vision or emphasis on that, but it's not the case. I think what's ultimately the destiny of what is being built here, and where we find opportunity and sort of the vision of the space, is to build beyond it, is to be better to do more, to reach more people in ways that they haven't been reached before, or serve them in ways that they're underserved by the legacy system. And that's not just in banking, that's just in like giving them self-sovereignty over the value that they work so hard to earn. Things like that I think are very important in this day and age, where we are in a very interesting time in history, at least economically. And where things go, I don't think anyone truly knows. Both the bulls and the bears have been wrong many, many times over even just the last year. So if anyone claims to know, they don't. But I think what is absolutely guaranteed is that we are going to continue to see more money printing. We're going to continue to see more abstraction from the fundamentals, at least in the legacy markets. And we're going to see more people continue to be frustrated with the system. So yes, pay attention to that. Pay attention to how, not just in the space, but overall, like how things are going down, and where we can find opportunity in that. Not just as speculators, but true visionaries for what the future needs, solving tomorrow's problems. I think that's where we stand to benefit. There's some questions about like Cardano. That's a touchy subject, and I think baseline, my opinion on all the other smart contract platforms, sans Ethereum and Polkadot right now, is that they're not bad. If they're in the top 20, awesome. I think they've stuck around, and they've definitely got interest. Right now, it's all about providing value, and if they can do that, if they can continue to show that, cool. I think they have staying power. There's not going to be a one size king as it relates to ecosystems. There's going to be different ecosystems for different opportunities. It's just what has been proven over and over again, at least through the last 3 years, is that not only is that going to be the case, but it's needed. Cardano does things differently and better than some of the other ones. And so continuing to see them exacerbate those advantages is what I'm watching it for. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, right in this moment, it's Ethereum and Polkadot's market, and then some other ones that are doing okay. Let's see what else. Nice. Yeah. There's definitely going to be some exit scams. Watch out for that, especially as we get into more and more like hot market kind of activity and environment. But isn't that cool? Isn't that fun? We've been missing that, I think. So good and the bad. You got to take it both. Let's see. What else we got, guys? We'll stick around for maybe 5 more minutes. And I think today's been a good session. Hopefully you guys have gotten anything out of it. There was a question about if you just joined, where to get the list of the projects that I was talking about. It's in the bio of this video, but I also post all these lists that I talk about, both on our Discord, which you can join in the bio below as well, or our brand new platform, which is ReadySet.Vision, ReadySet.Vision, www.readyset.vision. And it is all about teaching you on-chain analysis, which is this brand new field of study. I know I've talked about it a couple times on the stream, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's really cool. I think it's something that we're literally writing the book on because it's so brand new. So it helps you outsmart the market. And hopefully, as we continue to develop the materials on it and show you the value of it, you'll agree with me on that one. So I think this is an opportunity for you to get ahead of a lot of other people before they get on board, because this is what the institutional guys are going to be using. This is what the hedge fund guys use. This level of data, this level of analysis, that's what they look at. They look beyond the emotions of the market, and they look for those big macro opportunities like this. So cool. All right. That's where I post the lists of the projects. But there's also some other cool ones. Hey, great question about PokeStarter. I love this project. The more I look into it, it's for those who've been around for a while, I am a big believer in crowdfunding and startup capital and helping small businesses achieve their goals through capital raises. For people to go out to the public markets and say, I have a dream, help me make it happen. And for them to do a raise, for them to do, just fund an opportunity for them to get off the ground. I think that's awesome. And I think that's exactly what, tokenization and tokenized securities and tokenized stocks and things of that sort is going to help solve. So that's exactly what I see with something like Polkastarter, sorry, which is built off of Polkadot, obviously. And I don't know about you, but if you ever participated in an ICO or an IEO or an IDO, there's just a lot of mess with it. It's kind of crazy. And one of the biggest issues is just people getting dumped on, and the sort of early people getting all the advantage and the late people getting just held, left holding the bags. That just happened over and over and over again back in 2017. So this is what Polkastarter aims to solve. And I think what they're doing is really cool. It's basically just pools of crowdfunding capital, and once they meet their goal, boom, the token's public, you get the tokens, everybody gets it for the same price. That, I think that's cool. I think that's a very nice evolution off of the first come first serve model, where it really just benefits those who can shill the hardest. This is a different vision of what capital crowdfunding raise looks like. I think it's cool, but that's just one example of how like Polkadot and the larger DeFi space is kind of expanding opportunities and giving more access to tools that I think are going to help the average person. Let's see, what else? Take a couple more questions. Doc, you want to answer anything?
I really, nothing is, I mean, most people are asking, like, when is this bull market going to end? And the analysis I did the other day on the log chart was very similar to what you did on on-chain analysis. And I'm a big believer in things having the same kind of rhythm to them. So when something pulls up in an impulse wave and then pulls back, they tend to repeat the same kind of thing going on in forward. And the conclusions I came up with were very similar to what you just showed on the on-chain analysis.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way to go.
They're saying you stopped aging. Well, that's one of the superpowers you get when you're bald. Cool. Let's take one more question, and then I think we'll close it up for today. Man, a lot of good questions, guys. I appreciate the very active chat today. I think this has been awesome. Let's see, what else?
Hey,
what else
Marcos.
goes? Hey, Crypto Darth Mark. Good to see you, man. Ooh, man. Some project suggestions. Link is too high. Chainlink. All right, yeah, Chainlink. Let's talk about Chainlink. So Chainlink is
we should get Nick on the channel one of these days, so we can have a debate with him on how to run a business. Nick appears to know how to run a business better than we do.
That's true. Yeah, so Chainlink is cool. I've met Sergey personally. They are expanding. They're doing a lot of things to, they were originally all about Oracle. I think I was the first YouTuber to talk about them way back in 2017. So, not to toot my own horn or anything, but it was cool to like say, oh yeah, this is how, as far as it relates to data validation and, where eventually Ethereum needs to go in terms of its ability to do smart contract execution and, eventually set up these DAOs and set up, what DeFi eventually became. You have to have clean data. You have to have the ability to operate in a trustless, decentralized way on that data. Since then, Chainlink has kind of evolved to be more of a centerpiece of the DeFi space. Kind of acting in some ways like an aggregator that we talked about earlier in the stream. So, I think there's a lot I can say, and want to make clear, I don't own any, and I don't have any big, strong feelings on Chainlink. They were shilled very hard for a very long time, and it's very hard to get an unbiased review of them these days. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they're a legit project, and they've done a lot of really cool things, and it's cool to see their project kind of coming to the culmination of what they've been working towards and continuing to do so. That's awesome. That's what we wanted to see in 2017 going forward. There was last week, people were asking a lot about Origin Trail or TRAC. Same deal. Very cool to see that project stuck it through and is, I think its market cap ranked number 200 or so. So it's not exactly the biggest out there, but they're going to be releasing staking this week. They've made so many updates and improvements to their ODN, their development network, and just lots of things. Helping companies interface with blockchain is kind of what they do. So very cool stuff. I love to see that they stuck it through. That they are helping to make the vision, the dream come true. That we're all in this space for. It's not just about the money. Hopefully, hopefully you're here as well for what the space represents and what it stands for. And I think that's going to be central to where we're going to be going in the years to come. It's more about the substance, more about the professionalism, or sort of like what this space represents, the value it provides. I think that's kind of been the recurring theme of this stream today. Is if you can look for that, if you can look for those big trends that we're kind of reaching out towards. Again, just to name them for the people who just joined, that would be aggregators, it'd be Polkadot projects, it'd be layer 2 projects or protocols, and it'd be scalability solutions and those sorts of projects that are working for at least sort of some sort of interoperability scaling solution that helps the space grow, that helps the space interface with the legacy system or interface with itself. That's where I think value is being created, at least at this stage in 2021. And it's really cool to see. Next, BitConnect. Great question. It's actually interesting that XRP hasn't dropped out of the top 5, just for the fact that their ongoing battle with the SEC. Not to have any strong opinion one way or another on Ripple and XRP, but I think the reason that they haven't dropped like a stone is because people are speculating, or at least betting, that the SEC doesn't have a strong enough argument to classify them as a security. At which case, I think they would do pretty well. The price would explode.
From a percentage basis, how do you compare scams right now versus where we were 3 years ago?
That's a great question. Hard to quantify.
I mean, I think hard to quantify, but just on a feel basis, I mean, like it seemed back in 2016, 2017, just about, I'd say 75% of the ICOs that came out were just a way to fund some cash and go get a Lambo and have some fun with it and not really provide any value to it. I'm just not seeing the same thing now. I'm seeing a much more mature, much more grown up crypto market with all the projects coming to bear these days.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say currently you're seeing some projects, potentially scams, but at the same time, I think we're seeing the resolution or, the implications, the consequences of some of the people that took advantage of the space last time. For example, the Oyster protocol project, which I know rebranded to something else. Their CEO basically, he had the main private key, and he basically stole a bunch of the coins for the project. He's in jail now, which is great. And that project has kind of recovered. They've rebranded. The team is still very active and engaged. If someone can tell me what the name of it is, I really appreciate that. So I'm not just kind of talking, off the cuff here. But I think that's really awesome to see. Not only that they were able to recover, but there's some justice involved with that, because we don't want anonymous people stealing and hacking and stuff like that. So that's another thing is the security has been beefed up this time. There's better things in place. I mean, we saw this happen way back in, what was it, 2013 with Mt. Gox. After that, there was a much bigger emphasis on exchanges and security. It wasn't enough, obviously. There were still big exchange hacks, Bitfinex, BitGrail, all these bad, sort of terrible events that happened the last time around. And I'm sure we're going to see same sort of stuff happen again. However, I think we've matured in security. We've matured in terms of venue and application. substance. There's a lot that has been made in progress over the last 3 years, and that's cool to see. Nick, I make sure I shout out to him before we get off here. Thanks for being an old school, longtime follower. It's definitely appreciated. We changed the name of the channel for those who keep bringing it up, like it's a big, I don't know, taboo thing or something like that. We launched another channel called Ready Set Trade, which is helmed by Doc here. It's focused on stocks. And for a little bit there, we were experimenting. Should we just combine ReadySetCrypto and ReadySetTrade into one channel called ReadySet? That didn't really work out so well, I'll admit it. So we've spun off the second channel. The link to subscribe to it is in the bio below, and we'd really appreciate if you come help support that new channel. Again, it's just about stocks and options trading, which I think is just as valuable in this day and age. There's still lots of opportunities. If you don't know what SPACs are, I think you should definitely check them out because they sort of remind me of ICOs back in 2017.
We're killing it. We're killing it right now with SPACs. I mean, it's like, and like it's investing these days is like going to a trout pond, right? with bait, and you just dunk your hook in and away you go. So I have never seen conditions like this right now. So we got to make hay while the sun shines, guys.
Yeah. So, I'll admit it. It takes a lot to be in the space long term. You're going to get some bruises. You're going to get some black eyes, and you're not always going to be right. I will admit it. People bringing up OnChain right now definitely deserve, I deserve that one. But at the same time, I talked about it, and then it went up to $45. So you can't exactly point a big finger at me on that one. It did pretty well for a little bit there, and then they had that Twitter I won the contest thing from their own employee. Ooh, that was embarrassing. But that's kind of indicative of what this space is. It's not always going to be clean. It's not always going to be perfect. It's very much a startup land. You're taking big risks on this, and I hope you understand that getting into this. But at the same time, the opportunity is also massive. And I think this time around, we're going to be, it's going to be really cool to see how far we've come and how much we've grown. So,
the thing that I really like is that since we've been around for so long, I think we've educated a whole generation of investors that, people started off by saying, hey, I'm a hodler, and back in 2017, because that was the big thing. And I'm just going to hold on and I'm just going to, keep my position. And then all of a sudden we start to drop 60, 70%. And people start asking me like, when should I have sold? Well, wait a minute. I thought you were a hodler. And now all of a sudden you say that you're a swing trader. So I think what we've helped people is the people that have stuck with us is to teach them how to set up a plan and to be able to follow a plan. It's amazing to watch guys like Checkmate who just kept dipping and stacking sats along the way. I'm more of a short-term trader myself, like looking for quick price swings and things like that. But guys like Checkmate were just like dipping away the entire time. And now look what they've done because they had a plan and they used, some of the same things that we talked about for that, because it's a business, right? A lot of people attack this as though it's some kind of a hobby and it's fun to throw out project names and what's going to happen with this and that. But this is really a business. And if you attack it with that same rigor and approach to that, you can do really, really well if you keep your head on straight.
Yeah, well said. And hats off to you guys if you've been here throughout the last couple of years, or if you're just getting started too. Recognize that this space wouldn't exist without you. It wouldn't exist without your support and participation in this, because we're all in this together. This Bitcoin hitting 50,000 doesn't happen by accident. It's because of the people that had vision and had conviction and stuck through the hard times so that we can enjoy the good times together. So give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah, you guys are ready this time around. So
but help pass it on. Help pass that torch on to evangelize the space. If it's done good things for you, help other people understand what it represents. It's not just numbers and price charts and stuff. It's people. That's what these projects represent, is the ability for us to build this sort of tools that help make our collective experience, especially as it relates to financials, which I don't want to sound too like oh, this is so wonderful about. but we are legitimately trying to have a better vision of the future. That's what I was talking about earlier about the difference between the legacy financial space and this one. We're not trying to replace it. We're trying to build something better. We're trying to evolve upon it. And having that as your central vision, core, collective just thesis, I think is so important, especially in this day and age where it seems like trusting anything is so hard. Getting unbiased sources on stuff is really hard. People are more distant than ever. And having a space that collectively is banded together with a common vision and just a charter, I think is rare. And so that's personally why I see, my answer to why Bitcoin is worth 50,000 and above is it's more than just what it does in the data. It's more than what it does in terms of its cool technology. It's what it represents from the human factor, from the intangibles that I think it just goes without saying that that's why we're going to continue to see it go further and higher than ever before, is because we have people like you on board, and that's so cool. Hopefully you take some time to recognize that. But for the person who it was K Smith, I think, who pointed out the was it Reef is now opacity. Thank you. I appreciate that. Who else? Michael, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching. Guys, we'll close it up for today. I think that's a good place for us to leave off. But Doc, did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I'm gonna hide you for a second here. I'm just gonna bring up the closing slides here for us. So if you trade the equities markets, if you have access to the equities markets, what I'm suggesting that you do, join us at elite.readyset.trade. It's free. You can join right up and just be part of the community and be part of our connection that we have. And you can see what Mav is talking about with SPACs and some of the other opportunities that we have available. Plus, we have a lot of very good folks in there. And the ReadySet Vision that we had talked about before, the analysis for ReadySet.vision, that's the site that you go to. And we always have this special going, ReadySetCrypto.com/3, THREE. ReadySet.com/3 is for our special for 3 months if you want to join the elite group here with us. All right, guys, that's all we have for today. Thanks everybody for dialing in and challenging us. We enjoy the discussion, and we will see you next week.
Take care out there, guys. Stay warm, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Cheers. See you, everybody. Bye now.